Weeping Clown's been buffed before his own release, and we might be getting a new lore-themed map this year. For more news like this, stick around for this week's episode of This Week in Identity 5. Welcome back to another episode of This Week in Identity 5, guys. I've got a bit of a cold, so I do apologize for how I sound right now, as you could probably tell from this weekend's video as well. We've got a lot of news today, a lot of different things that I need to mention. So let's quickly brush over what we got from last week's update. We got two A-tier skins that are once skins, one for photographer and one for enchantress. Zuzu for enchantress and Faust for photographer that I'd obviously been talking about for a couple of weeks now, and they're now available to buy in the store with a 25% discount if you buy them with echoes. We had two different character days, or birthdays technically, because they were both survivors. We had Mind's Eye and we also had Lawyer's birthday. So I didn't manage to participate in those because the game wasn't working for me as usual, so that meant that I completely missed those events. But hey, I'm glad that you guys managed to do that, and I hope that the questions were very interesting ones. As for Koa 5 event, the Ethereal Theatre began. This is the event where people who are in the top 50 teams can now access a special rank mode where they will compete against each other, I believe, to see who are the top 8 of those 50 teams so that they can go to the qualifiers. We can still, as players who cannot participate in these special rank mode matches, we can still participate in normal matches, non-Koa matches, to be able to earn Abyssal Whispers that will let us get that Postman skin and the other Koa 5 accessories and stuff like that. There are a couple of minor changes to kind of the game as a whole. Block list for tier 7 has been improved. I'm not really sure what the issue was there. Sia's Saito skin has had some optimizations, I believe, to some of the physics. There have been lots of other random bug fixes, and apparently they also adjusted how many points survivors get after using a Mad Eyes console. Completely random, and is it in preparation for something? Maybe there's a Mad Eyes skin coming up. They usually do, although they have denied it in the past, they usually do mess with hunters and survivors that, you know, randomly if there's a special skin coming up for them. Nightmare also got put into the Nightmare mode, so Nightmare is now officially a Nightmare Hunter as well. If I remember correctly from the Nightmare event, he was very difficult to kite, so I can imagine that he'll be even more difficult on maps where there are less pallets around. So let's see how that goes. I haven't tested it out yet, but if you would like me to test that out on a stream, then tell me down below. It was just announced over the weekend that Weeping Clown has had a buff in the test servers. He will be coming out this week, so it's good to see that they are kind of adjusting the character before they release him. They've now adjusted him so that his rocket will always explode. Before, if he crashed into something, or if he didn't crash into anything at all, his rocket wouldn't always explode. In the case of not hitting anything at all, it wouldn't explode, it would just poof out of existence. Now the rocket will always explode on impact, and also without any impact when the thing runs out. The rocket will also not disappear after it runs out. So let's say you are kind of running for those 10 seconds that it takes for Weeping Clown to use his rocket. The rocket usually would just disappear at the end of that, or technically explode. Weeping Clown will instead let go of the rocket, and it will continue off into the distance, and it will explode on impact. So that means that now the rocket always will fire off, and that's kind of an interesting concept, I think. I think that was kind of necessary for that ability. They may have added a button maybe in the settings, or I'm not sure if it's in the settings or also maybe in the game, in the match itself, where you can automatically attach a survivor. Because before you had to press a button when you were next to a survivor to pick them up. But now it seems to automatically pick up highlighted survivors when you pass right by them. So that might be good, I'm not completely sure. And for PC players, they do remember that we exist sometimes. They've added A and D on your keyboard support for turning left and right instead of just using the camera. Again, we haven't experienced them yet, so I'm not sure if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but I can imagine that made some sense to put some players at least. What can we expect from this week's update? Well, we are of course getting the new season, Season 19 Essence 3, with the S tier skin for Weeping Clown that looks very impressive. Little Girl's getting an A tier, and also Dream Witch that is getting that beautiful paper A tier skin. I'm really looking forward to see if I get that skin. Of course, along with this, we are also getting Weeping Clown added to the game, and I've already talked multiple times about what I think about this character, so if you don't know what my opinions are, I'll probably leave a card up above. People have very mixed feelings about where he's going to be, but at least when I asked you guys in the community post, you guys mostly voted that he will be an A tier character. A couple of days after the patch's release, we'll be getting the Lunar New Year event 2022 that is also called the Spring Festival event. I'm not completely sure if they're different, but I think they're the same, where we'll be able to get some special costumes that I think are mostly B tiers. We'll get some A tier unlock cards that I don't know if it's a permanent one or if it's not a permanent one. I think they might be semi-permanent ones, you know what I mean, where you can lock it for a little bit. You'll be able to get some emotes, some portrait frames, and probably fragments and clues as usual. Along with this event, of course, we'll be getting tons of stuff in the in-game store. There will be a ton of emotes apparently, and also in the Spyglass store, that is the free currency, I guess technically, we'll also be getting even more emotes, and I believe they are the emotes from last year's New Year event. Bloody Queen's S tier skin and S tier, I think it's S tier or A tier accessory, is coming out this week as well. It should be coming out on the day of the patch, and it's going to come in a package that you'll be able to purchase to be able to get both of them at a discount, or you could buy them separately. I think it is available for fragments. I believe it would be like 12,888 if I'm correct, whatever the usual price is for an S tier skin. So make sure you save up your fragments. I have sadly not got enough, but I might possibly get the accessory. I will think about it. Finally, we're getting a memory sphere reset. This means that you'll be able to reset which kind of guaranteed skins you want from the memory spheres. They added kind of about a year ago now. It's been a long time since they added this feature, but it's been a very useful feature and also kind of one that not many people mention too often. But hey, it lets you get all these really old skins that haven't been purchasable for a very long time. So this means you'll be able to reset your B tier skin, your S tier accessory, and A tier skin for a character. And how can we forget Hastur himself? It's Feaster's character day on the 24th of January. I'm interested in seeing some of the questions for him because I don't actually know too much about his lore at all. I know that he's kind of some kind of deity of some sort, but yeah. We do love Feaster's character design, I think. He's a very cool character. As for some leaks and some rumors, we have some stuff coming up relatively soon. I think it's in the following weeks after this next patch. We should be getting the Penrose Maze event, that is the S tier event thing for Explorer, that will come with the Lilliputian, I don't know how you pronounce that, S tier skin for Explorer, and an A accessory called Dolly that I think makes you into a doll when you kind of shrink down in Explorer's mode. I don't really know. This event will also come with an A costume unlock that I'm not sure if it's temporary or permanent. We'll find out again very soon. A standby motion, I'm assuming, for Explorer as well, and clues and fragments and probably some other stuff as well that will go with this event. We got a kind of a Q&A again. We keep on getting Q&As, but I think this was kind of from a live stream that the devs did where they answered a lot of questions, and they're actually relevant questions now, or at least some of them. Not anything that we would really want to know, but at least something. We should be getting a new game mode coming out this year. I keep on telling people, and people keep on telling me, that it would be nice if they just fix the game instead of adding more and more content. But so adding a new game mode is of course going to be their priority over fixing the existing game modes. But at the same time, it does mean we can play the game in another fun way. It's a hit or miss if this is going to be a good thing. As they've been talking about for a while, they are going to be adjusting each of the dark maps, making them a little bit better for players to see. I do think that, especially if you're playing on a mobile and you're playing on an AMOLED screen, it must be very difficult for you guys to be able to see the maps. So I'm glad that they added that, or they're going to add that feature in the future. That feature in the future. Whew, that's difficult to say. We'll be getting also a new map, I believe, this year that's going to be game lore related, and I'm very interested in seeing what else they're going to introduce. What else could... It must be something connected to another character. Along with the new map, we're also possibly getting a new room as well this year, or the following year. It's going to be Chinese themed. It's probably going to be an A or S tier room, so... Or maybe they'll be nice and they'll make it so it's purchasable for people who have fragments or for clues possibly. I'm not completely sure. For the Koa 5 event, we should be getting Koa 3, Koa 4 and also Koa 5 essences. So this means, or at least you'll be able to purchase some of the older skins from the previous Koas. I'm not really sure why they're bringing back Koa 3. They keep on bringing it back every year. And it's kind of, it doesn't make that kind of essence as special as it was. As for some skins that we're going to probably be getting soon, we are possibly getting Axboy's Logic Path skin in Season 20. So they've now announced that it's going to be a skin for Axboy. There's going to be an A tier skin coming up in the following essence that would be Season 20 Essence 1 for Breaking Wheel. Naiad is going to get a skin in the second half of 2022. That's exciting. And all of the Ivory Tower skins should be coming back for the anniversary. On the topic of skins, apparently Mercenary's skin, his S tier skin that came out not too long ago called Man in Red, should be getting some optimizations. NetEase, why do you release optimizations? Just release the skins properly done in the first place. They also promised us that there are more collabs coming up soon, possibly this year again. I'm not sure how what they refer to by more collabs coming. It'd be interesting to see what they give us. Who knows what they'll give us. And the question that we've had this whole time about whether this new 16+ rating was actually going to change anything in the game at all. Apparently it's not going to make this game become more of a horror game. They are not going to add any more horror elements just because it's 16+. I believe this was probably just to fit in with certain legislation, probably in China, because their game is quite a violent game already. So I was surprised that it wasn't 16+ already. Moving on to the Talk in the Manor, where I respond to your comments on my recent videos, and you guys have left some very nice ones, I must say. Phantasmagoria says, after following the autumn IVL matches, I have to say it's interesting how different China's meta is to ours, and while we're slowly getting there, we are still months behind them. For example, both Patient and Toymaker are used successfully against meta hunters like Balloon and Galatea. I have to admit, I kind of wonder what our teams would do against compositions like that, and the new 5 survivor ban system they introduced in IVL finals, if they intend to keep it, would also change things. It's obviously true that we are going to be behind China's meta, and we always just try and replicate it, right? Because they have a very kind of intense meta, especially in tournaments, because the tournaments are, people who are being professionally paid to play against each other. Meanwhile, in our server, we don't have teams that are, have supporters or are not getting paid to play the game themselves. Instead, they have to do it of their own will, and we don't have many tournaments for them to kind of test their abilities against. They're just playing against rank hunters all the time. So of course our meta is going to be behind because we don't have to adapt to situations because we don't have those situations. In China, they're obviously going against the best of the best at all times. But yes, it would be very interesting to see, especially if we could get more teams. NetEase, please let us bring more teams to the global finals. Please, I really would like to see how our teams handle going against China. I know that we probably wouldn't do amazingly, but just show off that we exist would be a great idea. Otaku Gamer says, you should do a hunter version of this video. On my video that I did of Horror Show, the weird wacky game that I don't think you should really try, I had a couple of comments, not too many, but some interesting ones. Devil Cupcake says, I lost some brain cells looking at this, not gonna lie. It was better than the other game that I've played that's called something else horror. That one was terrible, but Horror Show, I can see why you would play that game. It does have adverts randomly that are incredibly loud, but apart from that, the game is okay. It's not bad. If you really wanted a really budget version of Identity 5 or of Dead by Daylight or something like that, and you wanted to play it on your mobile, that is a good-ish game to play, I would say. What do you think the new map that's coming out this year is going to be based on? Is it going to be on a character that we don't have yet? Is it going to be based on a character that is like a survivor version of a hunter or a hunter version of a survivor? Please tell me down in the comments below. And whilst you're down there, remember to like and subscribe if you want to get more news like this every single week. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.